Hello and welcome to Stocks Down Under. My name is Stuart Roberts and I'm one of the co-founders of our service. And joining me today on Friday, the 24th of February 2023 from Melbourne is Mr. Steve Linamore, who's the CEO of Immuron, ASX IMC. Steve, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Stuart. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Immuron is a company, as a guy who's followed the life sciences sector for a long time. Immuron's had a long development history on ASX. The commonality is the intellectual property platform around bovine colostrum. And if you've been around the game a while, you'd come across the flagship product for that, which is Travelan. Talk to us about what attracted you to go and join Immuron in the middle of last year.
Yeah, it's been interesting times, and your viewers will no doubt be aware with the COVID pandemic. I was approached unexpectedly by a recruiter, and I decided, like all opportunities, you should investigate them thoroughly. I went and met with the board and talked to them about what they were looking for, and I decided I liked what I heard. So it's a company that had in an area that I was familiar with in gut health or gastrointestinal health. It has cash in the bank and funded, and in current times, that's obviously a good thing.
Yes.
A number of clinical programs are underway, but importantly for me, recently, before that, been in a company that was just into research. They have a commercial product that you just mentioned, Travelan, on the market, and I thought that would be a good opportunity to put not only my experience in progressing R&D programs, but also growing commercial brands in the market.
Right. So let's talk about Travelan for a second for the viewers that haven't seen that. So basically, you take the bovine colostrum. You've got polyclonal antibodies against a range of bad guys that when they get into the gastrointestinal tract can cause travelers diarrhea and other worse conditions. Being able to quickly deal with that means that you can very quickly resolve the symptoms. And the person who's got the traveler's diarrhea is up and running faster than usual. Have I summarised the opportunity in Travelan reasonably well?
You've summarised half of it, so yes, it does do that. So it is indicated in Australia for relieving diarrhea and allowing people to recover more quickly. But the key important difference with Travelan is that through that process of producing polyclonal antibodies in colostrum, which are specific for targeted pathogens, and in the case of Travelan, that's different forms of ETEC, so enterotoxigenic E. coli.
Right.
Key point of difference is not just relief, but also prevention. So we have a clinical study that was undertaken, the OTTO study, that showed up to 90% of people were able to avoid getting traveller's diarrhea by taking Travelan. So that's the key point of difference. If you're travelling to Bali or somewhere like that where you want to make sure that you don't get it, you should take Travelan in advance than while you're there.
And I think sometimes it's difficult to find it on the shelves because demand is so strong, right? People know that the Travelan is the thing you should put in your baggage before you fly to Bali.
Yes, that's been an unfortunate situation of late, and we did run into a situation where we're out of stock, unfortunately, because of the rebound in demand during the pandemic. We had a lot of stock. We weren't selling any of it because people weren't travelling, and that stock came to expiry, and ramping up supply chain to be able to keep up with that increase in sales was challenging, and unfortunately we did reach a stock out situation. That has been resolved. So,
you and thousands of other companies around the country, no shame there.
Yeah, and we had one of the bottlenecks in our supply chain was in the packaging part, and you no doubt read that there are a lot of products, including PBS listed products that are in medically necessary. They obviously get priority for doing packaging, and Travelan, while it's important for people travelling doesn't really meet that medically necessary criteria. So we have taken steps to resolve that. All wholesalers and pharmacies now stock with our product in Australia. We're starting to build stock for growth in international markets.
Right. So that's the product that's got this company on the map. But what excites me is what comes next. You're currently got an open IND where you're going to seek to take Travelan and get it approved under a biologic license application. In plain English, we want to be able to get this approved as a medical grade product for the US market and beyond.
Yeah. So for those that aren't aware of the BLA acronym, that's a biologics license application. It's the FDA term for a prescription biological drug. And yes, we're moving forward with a clinical program to get that status. That would mean that it would be prescribed by doctors, being reimbursed by health insurance and the like, and be widely available to everybody. We did receive approval from the FDA late last year for an IND. That's an investigation on a new drug. Currently going through the ethics approval procedure with a view to starting a phase 2 clinical trial in this first half of the calendar year.
That's great. Now, on top of that, you've got one clinical trial that's on what they call clinical hold at the moment. You want to show that that the product is useful, going after that bug you mentioned earlier, ETEC, or not so much bug as toxin, and yet you were put on clinical hold. You were now working with the agency to get it off clinical hold. Talk to us about what happened there and what you expect will be a favourable outcome.
Yeah, so this is a Travelan active is IMM 124E, which is ETEC or enteric toxigenic E. coli. This product's a different product, so it does have ETEC as one of the targets, but the other target is Campylobacter. So it has a different proprietary animal vaccine that was developed for producing a different bovine colostrum product. Unexpectedly, the FDA found that because it's a different bovine colostrum product, they wanted additional safety data over and above what we had. So we have recently completed a toxicology study in animals and answered a number of their questions. And we're hopeful that in March we should get, I'm hoping anyway, a positive response from them, allowing us to go ahead with that clinical trial. So this is a program that's funded by the US military, the Department of Defense, and we're collaborating with the Naval Medical Research Centre in this program.
Yes, and that's another interesting aspect to this. Uncle Sam is very interested in your product because he deploys troops all around the world, often to zones where soldiers will be exposed to pathogens that could cause diarrhea, thereby hindering the fighting capability of those soldiers. You've potentially got a solution for him, and so you've been collaborating with the Armed Forces University to get that up to the standards that he would need.
That's true. So the US Department of Defense is very interested. They've spent quite a bit of money with our company proving the capability of our technology. So even for Travelan, they've done studies showing that it has broad spectrum antibiotic activity for about 180 different pathogens. The Walter Reed Army Institute did some studies on Shigella. Now we're working with the Naval Medical Research Centre on the Campylobacter and ETEC. But the study you just mentioned is the Uniformed Services University, another part of the US military that's running a field study with our current over-the-counter Travelan product, placebo controlled trial in 868 patients with actively deployed military from both US and the UK, actually. So the UK military is involved in this one as well. So they're all very interested, and for good reason. You don't really want troops that are not able to actively be in service because of something like travelers' diarrhea.
Right. So we've got a number, at least one clinical trial, hopefully getting started next year. Another one coming off clinical hold, and one active with the Armed Forces University at the moment. So you're a phase 2 opportunity, and yet when I look at the market cap of this company, it's only $17 million on ASX at the moment. So it's fair to say that the market's not giving you much love at the present time.
No, it's not. In fact, our market cap at the moment is below our cash balance, which that was one of the reasons that attracted me to the company. I thought, here are these assets, and admittedly, coming into an organisation, you get to do some due diligence, but not as much as you would like. Once you're inside, you get more information. And once I've come inside, I've been even more impressed with the opportunities. I think there's value that I can add, and certainly the technology has much greater value than what the shareholders are currently prescribing to it.
Well, and I'll add in a few more items of value. Look at the published literature on your technology on the Immuron.com website. There's a long history of pretty serious development of these products that make them valuable from a scientific perspective, right?
Absolutely, and I think when the general stock market turns and people get the opportunity to their risk appetite opens up a bit, they'll see that there's a great opportunity for the technology that we have and deploying it in the right reasons against the programs we have. So one of the first things I undertook when I joined Immuron was to contract with a preeminent consulting organisation in the US called Lumanity to do a market evaluation to make sure that there's been a delay in some of the programs during COVID, make sure the opportunity is still there. So for the IMM 124E for travellers diarrhoea, the BLA that we talked about before, is that market opportunity still there? IMM 529 for Clostridioides difficile, is the market opportunity still there? And fortunately, they came back and said, absolutely, the market opportunity is there. They valued it, and I've shared that with the market. So we know there's a market. We know we have a technology that works. We just need to get moving forward, deploying the cash that we currently have to do the clinical programs necessary to get it to market.
Yes. Now, Steve, you and I have known each other for a number of years. One thing that's very impressive about your resume is the companies you've worked for. You grew up in the I call it the Faulding School of Hard Knocks. FH Faulding, the Adelaide-based pharma company run by the legendary Ed Twiddell, generated a whole legion of pretty talented biotech executives, including yourself, including Jackie Fairley at Star Pharma, etc. You jumped from there over to the US and ultimately ended up in Canada working for Apotex. And for those of us who know generic drugs, Apotex was one of the guns in this space, and you were I think the number 3 or number 4 man in the organisation.
Yeah, that's true. And I looked after all countries outside of US and Canada, one of which was Australia. So Apotex in Australia is now Arotex, and it's the largest generic company by some measures in Australia. Perhaps Mylan, Viatris is up there as well. But
yes,
but worked in not only Australia but also the US and Canada, and responsible for 111 country markets around the world, both generic drugs, proprietary drugs, and biologics.
Right. So, Steve, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. I'll write a check for $18 million, and I'll buy the company, and you can come and work for me. I take it you're going to knock that offer back, right?
I most certainly will. Sorry.
All right. So we can both agree that Imuron, given the potential, is worth a lot more than the current market cap, and viewers ought to take do their homework on what could be a very interesting couple of years for your company.
Yes, I think we can agree on that, Stuart.
All right. Steve Littermore, thanks for talking to Stocks Down Under, and good luck in terms of your clinical and other development in 2023.
Very good. Thank you.